Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast of Cafetalk. I'm here with Jolyn as usual,
Hello.
and today we have a very special episode for you all. I don't know if you guys are interested or ever have been interested in learning about coffee.
Yep, everything about coffee. We're going to take you on a journey from how coffee started, where it got its origins, how it made its way to the Americas, and basically to the big business that it is now.
Yeah, because, well, as you know, as the name suggests, Cafe Talk, we're actually, we record these at a cafe. I myself work at that cafe, and
I used to work at that cafe.
yeah. So we actually learned all we know from the owner, Danny, who like buys the coffee. He's the one that learned all the coffee stuff. And we just thought, since so many people out there drink coffee in the morning, like coffee, even some people that like don't like coffee, they know it's a big staple in the industry. We just want to see if anybody would be interested to learn about it. Learn about what you drink every day.
Yeah.
So, Jolyn,
So,
where would you like to start?
just a little fun fact. Coffee is actually the second most drinked beverage in the world.
What's the first?
Arguably, the first is water.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it's expected.
Exactly.
Probably be the first thing people drink.
People would go for that.
It's in a tie, or disputably in a tie with tea.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, those two are the biggest ones that people drink.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't drink coffee, you go straight for tea. England itself is known for its teas.
So to start this journey, coffee is actually native to the Middle Eastern regions and South Africa.
Yeah.
And the legend goes that
so the legend foretold.
So people believe that we first became interested in coffee when a goat farmer or a sheep farmer noticed that if his sheep would become much more active when they would eat the berries of this bush,
they would have a lot more energy.
Like his sheep became restless and they couldn't sleep, so this farmer took it upon himself to try it. And in the beginning, coffee was more like a tea. They didn't really understand roasting it and fermenting it.
They just soak the leaves of the plant in water and they just drank it like that?
I mean that sounds possible, but I think they actually just like soak the beans and drink the bean water, which it does have a slight coffee taste because I've tried green coffee beans, but it's pretty bad.
So coffee is actually from a plant that I don't know if many people out there know, but coffee is actually the center seed of a berry. Like it grows is in a bush.
I think it's in a bush.
Yeah, it grows in a plant where berries start to form, and once the berry is nice and ripe, it's red, and the center of the berry it's the coffee bean that everybody knows. So what they do is they take the berries, they dry them out, let the whole like meat of the berry just like fall off the bean and the seed. Once they have the seed dried out, that's what you roast to make the black coffee that everybody knows.
Yeah.
So that's why the sheep would eat the berries and they would get all the caffeine from that.
Yeah. So then to continue onward, people started experimenting with these beans, and then I think somebody just noticed that like if we cook them, they taste a lot better. So then that's like how roasting started, and coffee quickly spread from parts of Africa and the Middle East into Europe and Asia, and it just exploded. It became an amazing beverage. People loved it. It was a hit.
Do you know what empire or what country started like exporting coffee and how?
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So prior to the colonization of the world, of like the New World, coffee was only exported out of the Middle East and Africa. Ooh. Like European nations had to buy it from them, and that's how a lot of the Middle Eastern countries gained their wealth. Once colonization started, there was I believe he was Dutch. I forget his name. He wanted to plant coffee beans in the Caribbean, but the French at the time wouldn't allow him. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the Queen of France gave him permission. Brought like 25 coffee beans, or just brought some plants over. He planted them in the Caribbean, and those first coffee plants that were planted in the Caribbean are responsible for all of the coffee plants in Central and South America today.
Oh, wow.
So they all come from the same origin.
Yeah, they come from France.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, because coffee started in the Middle Eastern, is that why Arabica coffee is so like renowned as like top coffee? Like that's the style that everybody knows.
I want to say
the most?
yes, but I think so. Arabica itself, it's just a different type of bean. So there are two very popular strains of beans, and I think like one or two subspecies of beans. So there's the Arabicas. I think it's the Libericas, and then the Robustas.
Oh, I heard of the Robustas and the Arabicas. I actually didn't know about the Libericas.
Yeah, I'll probably have it the other way around.
Uh huh.
I could check that right now.
Are those like just like size of the beans, the type of the beans? Like what difference does it make that's Arabica, Robusta, and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the two main ones are Arabica and Robustas, and then similar to how we have like the Panama geishas and the Colombia geishas, that's how the Libericas started. Like they crossed different types of coffee beans, which you probably get from different places, and then they created these subspecies, so they're known to be either have a higher coffee concentration in them, or their size varies. It's just different things. But those are the two big ones. So you either have Arabicas or Robustas. And then even within them, you have like the full bodies, the pea bodies, and those just count to the actual size of the coffee bean itself.
Was coffee at any point sold like a drug?
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
Probably not. No, I don't know. I don't know. We didn't prepare for this podcast well enough. That's all I wanted, Danny.
Yeah, no, we had planned to have the owner of the coffee shop, the master of this coffee, to come and explain to us all that we didn't know and all that we weren't sure of. He's extremely busy himself. He's an extremely busy man trying to handle two businesses. He has
so there was no guarantee that he would actually come onto the show.
Exactly.
But it was a nice thought.
I mean, we're trying our best to get all our points down. I know for a fact that, like you said, when the French brought over to the Latin American colonies, the South America, Central America, after that, Brazil was like exploded on coffee. Like
and that makes sense because a lot of the coffee that we have, especially in small little coffee shops, everyone uses Brazil beans.
Exactly.
Just because in the actual like extraction methods, Brazilian beans are just so stable and they always have a consistent yield that they just make a great base.
Is it Colombia? The one that the fact that I was talking about that we were talking about that. Well, not only Brazil but Colombia started like exporting coffee as well. It got big to the point where coffee became its number 2 export. Yeah. The number 2 export in the country. Like that's what brings the money into Colombia, other than drugs. Like what they're known for. But yeah, that's coffee. It's a pretty big deal after that. Like I hear baristas in who I'm not 100% sure. Libya?
Oh, it's Israel.
Israel?
Yeah,
Israel?
I remember. I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, in Israel, they're like superstars. Like if you're able to make a good latte and latte art on top of that, you're considered like a movie star. You're considered like very like popular and rich and just have a great life type of stuff.
Plus, to add on that, Israel is one of the only countries that Starbucks has not been successful in.
Really?
Because the coffee scene and all the shops are so
top quality.
Top quality, close knit. Everyone looks out for each other. And Starbucks just couldn't survive.
Was it Leo? Literally today. Leo is another barista that works at the coffee shop where we work at. He was telling me a fun fact that I think he said Italians gave Starbucks a nickname and they called it Charbucks.
Ouch.
Yeah, because they roast their coffee too dark. So that's Italians they try.
We've been talking about roasting and stuff. Do you want to explain the different types of roasts? Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. So the type of roasts that I know, or do you want to go with the process of like separating the beans from the berries and stuff?
Yeah, we could talk about that first. Then.
So the process in which you extract the beans from the berries. There's a natural process and a water process. There's also a honey process.
Yeah, there's also a honey process, but not a lot of people.
Honey process is like that third process that not a lot of people like to go for. Not because it's bad, but because it's expensive and it's like tedious.
Yeah.
The natural process, the one that like coffee from Kenya and Ethiopia, that's what they go for, and they just pick all the berries from the plant. They lay them down on this like big, like mat or carpet or cloth or whatever, or even on the ground itself, and they should let the sun dry out the berry. It doesn't matter like what size the berry is. You know, there's some bigger ones, there's some smaller ones. Just let it all dry out and decay the meat from the bean. And once that's done, they just quickly gather all of it up. I think they wash it out, or at least they like just make sure they like remove all the meat entirely, and they package it up and send it out like that. Water process, on the other hand, the process in which all the beans are more uniform, like all the big berries sink to the bottom, all the small ones go on top, so you have more of a streamlined size for the beans. And
yeah, basically you let gravity separate the sizes of beans for you.
Exactly. And that's why when you get like a water process, you dump all the berries into this big tub of water, let the water and gravity separate them all, and then in that process you like stir it up, and that makes the meat really tender and just falls off the beans, and then you just strain it all, separating the meat from the beans, and you let the beans dry out and package it like that. Honey process, as we were talking about, the reason why it's not as popular is because it's kind of like the natural process. You get both big and small ones, and you put it in a big, like, I don't remember what the guy was telling us about. Yeah, so there was a guy that was explaining to us how honey process is made, because he made some really good black honey coffee. It was delicious. It was really sweet, like on its natural form, like no sugar, no added, just like straight up black coffee was amazingly sweet. You put it all in a big tin or cage or some sort of like that, and you put them in the sun to like dry out, kind of like the natural process. Every hour or so, depending on how much you want, you flip over the cage and let the underside dry up a little bit more. So that way, when the top side is drying out, it's releasing all the honey, all the sugar, all the natural like oils and stuff. They go all the way down to the bottom, to like the lower parts of the berries. And when you flip it over again, it does the same stuff. So pretty much you're keeping all the sugar and flavors of the berry in the coffee as it dries out.
Oh, okay. So it's like the same idea with like a rotisserie chicken.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like as you're cooking the chicken, the fat is like being cooked off of it, but instead of it dropping into the flames, you're rolling it so that way it just coats the chicken in itself.
It's pretty much just basting it as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
All right.
So in the end, the beans, even though they have different sizes, they leave much sweeter because the sugar just like coated the beans itself. And that's why like it's not really as known, because it's more expensive to do that stuff, because you have to constantly keep an eye on it. But yeah, that's the process, the three main processes that we've known so far. So yeah, I think Danny just explained that wrong to me. I could be entirely wrong, but I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just search it up later on. But yeah, he told me light roast has much more caffeine in it. And then once you roast it darker, that's when you start getting more of the smokiness into the flavor. You start embedding it. So
okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it brings out the little sweetness of it. So like I want to say medium roast is like the perfect experience for like the bitterness of the green bean, but yet like the smokiness and sweetness of the berry itself that it brings out. I'm not sure about that. I'm not too entirely sure. He told us the process of I don't want to go much into detail about this because it's just like
everyone has their own roasting style. Yeah. Everyone has their own way of actually roasting beans, but the general method of actually doing it is like, you raise the temperature to like 210 or something.
I'm not sure about the whole like actual numbers of it all. Yeah. All I remember is that he has like you have this whole container that you have to heat up over fire, and once that container's up the right temperature, you dump in all of the green beans in there. But you have to calculate for the fact that the green beans are colder, so it will drop the temperature for a bit. Yeah. And then once you bring it back up to the regular temperature, that's when they start like cooking and they start like roasting, and you wait to hear a pop. And the pop should happen within like 3 minutes or so of dumping them in. once that pop happens, you start hearing it's kind of like popcorn in the microwave. You hear one pop, and you have to make sure the other pop is within, I believe, like 10 seconds of the first pop. When all the other ones start popping, and as soon as you hear that, you shut off all the heat and you dump it all out into like a cooling tank. There's like a little tank at the bottom with holes where air is coming through, and it's constantly just like spinning to make sure all the beans are cooling properly and they all finish roasting equally. And then just let it cool down, and you got yourself a roast. Then the darker the roast, is the longer time you have to cook it for after the pop. The lighter the roast is as soon as you hear a pop, you dump it in and just let them pop outside in the cooling tray.
And then once you actually roast, can you use those beans like right away, or is there any kind of?
You can use it right away, but it won't open up the full flavor of the beans as soon as you finish roasting.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to taste how the roast itself tastes, like the smokiness and how like the charred aspect of it is gonna taste, then yeah, you could like try it out as soon as it comes out. But if you want the full flavor of what the coffee has to offer, what the green beans will have to offer, what the smokiness has to offer, you have to wait, I believe, 3 days on most typical coffee beans.
Yeah, 3 days is a pretty good time. That's when you'll start to get them.
Yeah.
I know when I worked with Green Door, who Intelligentsia, the mentors from Intelligentsia tell us like 7 days is a pretty good time. Like all the notes have matured and you'll get a pretty stable taste throughout. Yeah, but exactly. 3, I actually prefer waiting for like the 3rd or 4th day because I feel like that's when it tastes the best.
Yeah. No.
Like don't get me wrong, the coffee that I tried with Intelligentsia, it's pretty good, but to compare it to Danny's actual roast, I like Danny's more.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You prefer his?
Like, with no bias or anything.
I understand. I mean, especially since you have the view on both sides. Like, I myself am just only, I've only tried Danny's roast.
We're getting a little bit off topic here, but it's a segue because we're going to start talking about preparation methods.
Yeah. From
the coffee that I actually have tried from the big companies here in Los Angeles, my favorite so far, aside from El Celitos, is Groundwork. They have a mixture called Black Magic. That when I was working with them, we were fiddling with the measurements and trying to dial it in.
Yeah.
One of us dialed it in on accident, and it tasted amazing.
Really?
Like the shot pulled like 28 seconds. It was like 18 grams in, 30 grams out. Like in 30 seconds. It tasted like a creme brulee. Like the burnt sugar on a creme brulee. Yeah. It just tasted like that. It was amazing. And I couldn't replicate it when I tried to dial it in on the other machines. I was just like, there's something to this coffee.
They couldn't make it again? Like they themselves?
We couldn't. Like the baristas that they hired for the events.
Oh, okay.
But I'm pretty sure like the retail manager, Robbie, I'm pretty sure he could have done it. Anyone who works at Groundwork for like a month, for like a year probably could have done it. It was good.
No, I understand. I actually had a similar experience to that. Danny's mentor, the guy who taught him how to roast and how to do all this stuff, his name is Dave, and he came in one day, dialed in the shots for us, and it tasted like, you know, the tetero latte, the honey-based latte? It tasted like a latte that was sweetened up with natural honey, just pure espresso milk.
But it was an espresso shot.
Yeah, it was just an espresso shot.
Yeah, it's those amazing espresso shots that really make me like believe there's some magic in the world.
Right? It's incredible. It blew my mind. As soon as I tried it, I was like, this is insane. Like, what?
Yeah. Alright, so
I haven't been able to replicate it since.
I get you. I know what you mean. So Victor and I, we're both baristas. There's been some time that I haven't been a barista though. Nonetheless, we know our way around espresso machine, around the general bar. So let's just take some time and let's talk about. I wanted to talk about the 3 big. So what I wanted to talk about next was just like the most common methods of preparing your cup of coffee in the morning.
Okay.
Which we could split it up into espresso, pour over, and cold brew because those are the most common.
Well, those are the most common you find in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because I believe, at home people have the espresso maker, the stovetop espresso maker, the French press, And which one's the third one?
Well, there's also like instant crystals.
Oh yeah, but I don't count that as coffee.
I still count it.
Instant crystals,
There are some
little cups.
no
Like the Keurig cups, or which ones?
no the ones that like you take a spoonful of and you throw it in hot water and it makes it.
Oh,
It's basically like dried out coffee.
Yeah, yeah. No, you just pour like some hot water in and you instant coffee.
Yeah,
right
I still
there.
count it because there are some that are pretty good.
No, I understand. Me too. I actually, before I even became a barista, when I was at another job, I drank that every single morning.
Same. I still drink it.
It was good. Yeah, it's still really good.
It like if you just need a fix of coffee to get you started,
It's good enough.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. There are different people have like pour overs at home. They have the French press. They have the espresso stovetop. Some people have like little commercial espresso machines.
Yeah.
But at a coffee shop, your espresso shots or just an espresso machine is a staple. You can't really run an espresso shop without one.
Exactly.
Your pour overs and your cold.
Speaking of which, like just a side note, because you said you can't run a shop without one, I know a shop that was in Beverly Hills that was right next to a Starbucks, and the Starbucks paid off the landowner.
Really?
Like yeah, of the whole block, making sure that no other coffee shop is able to own an espresso machine. And so that coffee shop itself had to do with only pour overs and cold brew and stuff like that because they could not make espresso drinks.
Oh, I see.
And just because of Starbucks. Recently, I heard that they were able to put in an espresso machine. Like in the end, Starbucks was like, "No, it's cool. Like we understand." But yeah, no, she went straight.
Do you know if they were successful?
No, they were.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
They were there for like a good year and a half before they were able to put in an espresso machine.
Wow.
Yeah, so
kudos
really
to
impressed.
them. We should go there.
I want to try it out. Yeah, I want to see how good their coffee is, especially to be competing with Starbucks like that without an espresso machine.
Exactly.
It's really good, and I mean like it was right next to each other. I'm not even lying. Like you could step out of Starbucks and you would see the next store over, and it was that little store.
Wow.
It's insane. But yeah, you were saying so the three main processes is espresso, pour overs, and cold brew. Right? Cold brew is actually recently new, like well, relatively new.
Yeah.
Coffee shops started doing it mainly because of like, I believe what everybody knows is nitro cold brew, but that's a whole different process. It's still cold brew, but it's just like the container is different.
Yeah.
But cold brew is a process in itself. Which one would you like to talk about?
Let's start with espresso.
You wanna do it?
Okay, so we're not gonna go too into depth on like the science of espresso and what machine is better than with this machine. Just know,
just like the basic process.
Just know, an espresso machine is basically a machine in which you put in
finely ground coffee.
Yeah, finely ground coffee that's packaged into what are they called?
So the portafilter is just like it's like a little. What is it?
It's a little metal basket that has a ring that holds the basket in, that has a rubberized handle that you can safely put in the espresso and let it extract inside the machine.
And the basket itself is like a 1 inch in diameter. It's not that big.
Yeah, it's not that big at all.
It's a little small thing that you can just pour into the machine.
But yeah, we're starting to talk about. We're going too into depth in it. Basically, all it is, finely ground espresso that's packed in, and the machine itself is just shoots out high pressured hot water.
Yeah, it causes like a little vacuum with the portafilter to create pressure, and then just pours in hot water to like increase the pressure and just extract as much caffeine as possible.
Yeah,
and flavor from the little finely ground coffee you put
and then
in there.
most espresso machines will have a steaming wand on the side. Some will have two, some will have more, depending on how many group heads it has. Very few actually have grinders attached to them. You have to buy a grinder that goes with your machine. But that's basically it. That's what an espresso machine does.
Yeah.
And then there are different names. The big names are obviously like the La Marzocco's, the Simonellis, and there's other ones too.
Yeah, definitely.
But going into actual espresso, like Victor, how do you make an espresso shot? What are the basics? Not going into like too much, you can go into too much detail.
So to make an espresso shot, you get the basket, the portafilter, and you get your finely ground coffee, and I believe espresso is the finest you could ground the coffee.
No, there's finer.
Is there?
There's
Oh, Turkish. Oh yeah, there's Turkish. Okay, so espresso is one of the finest settings you can find ground the coffee bean, and you pour that into the portafilter and you tap it in. So this is a little machine that's a little like two pounds or something, a little weight that you just like tap it in, make sure all the coffee beans are like compressed as tightly as you can in there. And once you pour it into the espresso machine, that just like pours out the nicely like.
Well, it's
coffee.
not as tightly as you can, because if it's too tight, you won't get.
Well, yeah, you won't get.
There's a science to it, but just for the sakes of keeping it simple, just you pack it.
Pretty much just like the way Danny described it to us was, if you flex your muscle, like your pecs and your shoulder right here, like if you're doing a push up, just as soon as you start feeling that instant pressure, that's enough. Like that's enough pressure. That's enough weight that you put into it.
Yeah, that's a good assumption. That's a good.
Yeah.
Right. So we have our espresso in our portafilter, and it's tapped. Yeah. What do we do next?
Then you go to the machine and you put the portafilter into the group head. And the group head is just like a little part of the machine where like the portafilter goes in, and that's the part that causes the pressure with the water, where all the hot water comes out. And normally some of them, I believe they have buttons, right? All of them are just buttons.
Some
are buttons.
Some are buttons.
Are like levers, right?
Some are buttons. Yeah. Some are levers. Some are sliders.
Oh, I've never seen.
Like the La Marzocos, they use the sliders.
Are those like instant, or do you have to hold it? Because I know some.
They're instant. Well, so you can move it and they'll stay, but there's a lag to it.
Oh, I see.
If you move it halfway, nothing will really come out. You have to like move it all the way, and then some. It'll take like a couple seconds for it to come out.
Okay, because I remember Danny was also explaining to us how lever. There's some that are levers, and you have to hold it down, and you yourself have to wait and time it out and everything. But coffee shop that we go to, they have the automatic pressurized machines where you just press a button and automatically starts doing it all for you, and it just starts extracting the espresso from the coffee grounds. And yeah, most so going into the espresso, when we were talking about dialing in shots, when you dial in a shot, it's just like a fancy talk to explain how, what is it?
Well, it's not necessarily fancy. Yeah. Like dialing it in is the actual term. Mm-hmm. Because if your espresso grinds are too fine, then your espresso shot will be watery and acidic.
Yeah.
If your espresso shots are too fine, then they'll run slow. They'll be too condensed and they'll be too bitter.
Yeah, definitely that. But dialing in the shots is just
finding that perfect range.
Yeah, that golden spot.
Then within your espresso shot, guidelines will tell you that it should be anywhere between 23 to 27 seconds, depending on like the type of beans that you're using. Mm-hmm. That's just a general guideline. It should be somewhere around that. But
well, just pretty much you have to dial in shots just to make sure that the oils of the coffee bean and the flavors of the coffee bean, the body of it, they're all in the espresso shot without being too overpowering, too bitter, too concentrated, but at the same time not being so watered down that you don't get any of it. That you just it's just like a bland espresso shot, you know.
Yeah. All right. To wrap this espresso up, what makes a good espresso shot to you?
To me, an espresso shot has to be strong and powerful to the point where like you could really feel like pretty much coffee beans in your mouth is so good for me. But that's just my personal preference. It has to have body, like it has to be full body, like to the point where you feel some presence in your mouth, and even after you like finish drinking the espresso shot, you still the leftover taste is still just you could taste all the notes that the coffee has to offer.
Yeah,
you know, even if it's just so concentrated, it's still really good and very flavorful. But you know, caffeine doesn't really matter for me. At the same time, like. Because most people take caffeine into the account for that. Mm-hmm. And me, I'm just more into like the flavor and the body. What about you, Joan?
For me, a good espresso shot has to be a little smoky, full-bodied, as you say. Like once you finish the shot, there's like a lingering, almost like a lingering vapor that just coats your whole mouth.
Yes.
But it has to have very little to no bitterness, little to no acidity, and it has to be strong.
Yeah.
Which to people who aren't trained or are just so used to the Starbucks espresso shot, they won't understand what we mean when we say like, how can espresso shots not be bitter? They really can not be bitter.
Yeah, they really are.
Like some of them can be extremely sweet.
Yep.
And just be a satisfying cup of coffee without being bitter, acidic, disgusting.
Honestly, there could be espresso shots where you just want to drink them by yourselves. Like
exactly.
Like coffee shops offer little tiny cups where they come in that little cup, nothing but espresso, and it's just so good just by itself like that. Yeah, no, but the bitterness, I understand what you mean. Like bitterness I like is when it tingles at the back of your jaw. Like it's not too strong where it's just
I know what you mean.
You get me?
Yeah, I don't really mind that, but at the same time, like it'll take away from the experience. Like if I go to a totally new coffee shop and they let me try one, if it has that bitterness, that tingling bitterness, I'll be like, okay, you know what, it's fine. But if it has like that overpoweringly bitterness, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna come back.
Yeah. It's not supposed to be like a lemon where it tingles and then just like it just makes you like gag of how bitter it really is, how sour it is. Yeah, no, it's not supposed to be like that. It's just supposed to give you like little lingering feeling, kind of like when they make sushi with the what's that fish? The puffer fish. The professionals leave a little poison in there just to give a little tingling feeling on your palate. Yeah, just like that. Espresso. It has to be bitter enough just to give it a little, something extra, a little pizzazz.
I understand.
There. So what's the next process?
The next preparation method is pour overs, also known as drip coffees.
Yep.
I don't know if they go by any other name. I think some shops call them just like the brews, right?
I think so.
Like just brewed coffee.
Yeah, I remember.
Anyways, so drips, pours, brews, they're all the same basically. Some shops are more precise and precarious with how they make them compared to other shops.
Yeah. How do you know how to make a pour over, Jones?
So I learned how to do pour overs from Silito, from Danny, and also learned how to do them from Green Door Intelligentsias. And they're similar. The difference that the two have is that Danny cares more about how, like he tries them all and he cares about how they taste more, and Green Door kind of just cares about, is this person gonna have the same experience
as the next one,
and the person who orders the same drink?
Consistency. They just want the same.
They just care about the consistency. Yeah. Like it still tastes good. I feel like it's just missing a little bit.
Oh, I get you.
But the way that I know how to make them is you grind your beans up, and each bean has a specific grind, and that you have to find out through like trial and error.
So grinding a bean, the finer it is, the more bitter and concentrated it'll come out as. That's the finer it is. The coarser it is, the more easily the water goes through. So the more watered down you're gonna get from it. But sometimes some methods call for much coarser grind.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're able to get more fruity notes if it's a little coarser than finer.
Oh, also, like, we've been talking about fruity, like, all these different notes and stuff. These are flavors that are naturally inside of the coffee bean.
Yes.
Like, nothing is added to them. These flavors come about through
like
the fermentation and, like, the aromatics that form inside of the coffee while it's being processed. So, to the untrained tongue, you may not try it, but over time, if you keep on drinking more and more of it, you'll start to develop this taste. It's kind of like how people say this wine has like a rhubarb taste or it has a strawberry taste. It's the same process.
Oak note and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's on the stuff like that. Well, actually, yeah, just pretty much. That's a good example. Like with wine, whiskey, bourbon, all those other drinks where you need to like get used to the initial flavor of it, so you can start tasting the other notes that most like other people that can enjoy. Coffee's the same way. You have to get past the fact that it's just pure black bitter coffee, and once you get past that, you'll start noticing that like, oh, it tastes like flower petals. You get notes of like honey and graham cracker and all this other stuff, and it's amazing how many coffees or how many notes different types of coffees can
exactly
show.
So yeah, you find the grind, then There are different types of like not methods, but equipment that you can use to actually do a pour over. Some of them, just to throw out names, there are the Kalitas, the V60s, there's the Chemex. These are all just different types of like glassware or ceramics that you use to actually do your pour over in. But it basically, the basic construct of it is you have a cone shape in which you put a filter inside of that sits on top of your cup.
Yep.
You wet the filter paper just so that way none of the paper taste goes into your drink.
Yeah, none of the chemicals or anything like that
Exactly.
that might be in there.
So, and then you dump that waste out. Then you pour your beans in. Through my experience, a good pour over should take anywhere between like 2 minutes to 3 minutes. Something like that. I think the target time that you want to aim for is like 2 minutes and 10 seconds, something like that.
Like once all the water is drained entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's the same around. 3 minutes was like the golden spot that Danny told us. It was like once it's 3 minutes, the coffee should be done. You should be able to like take off the filter and empty it out and serve it to the person. The process itself, getting the water ready, getting the beans grounded up, the filter, all that stuff. He told us that it should take no more than like 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it through and have the coffee ready.
And then that's basically it. You pour your grounds in, you wet them, and then the very important role is that you give them a little splash. Make sure all the beans are soaked, and then you let it rest. And that resting process just basically releases all the carbon dioxide that was introduced into the bean while it was roasting. And then there, you'll actually be able to smell the notes from your coffee.
And releasing the carbon dioxide, that's actually a very important step, mainly because like some places don't do that. They forget to do that. But the carbon dioxide is actually what like enhances the bitterness in the coffee. So
I was going to say that carbon dioxide, how it actually just like reacts with water, it creates a very acidic water setting. So if you let the carbon dioxide just breathe out, your coffee should taste less acidic than other places.
Yeah, you should be able to at least notice more notes. They're more
exactly
because of it.
So once you do that, this is where methods vary. The one that I like is you wet it. You'll continue to introduce your boiling water until you without any measurements or stuff. Once you're nearing the rim of your filter paper, you stop, give it a quick little swirl, let some of it drain out. Then you continue to introduce more water until it reaches the rim again. Could give it one quick swirl again, and then you just let all the water drain out, and there you go. You got to pour over.
Yeah.
Without it's a very oversimplified one. Without introducing numbers, a scale, the whole
without going into too much detail. That's just that's a basic process of it.
Honestly, pour overs became one of my favorite things to order at a coffee shop. Just because it shows the level of finesse that some shops will go to. Yeah. And it kind of shows how much a shop actually cares about their products. Like if you go to a shop and they have a really good pour over, then they actually care a lot.
True.
About what they're doing. Whereas like ordering an espresso based drink, it kind of shows like the level, how adequate the baristas are.
With the type of drinks that they can make.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No, pour overs are the main component in being able to tell how good the beans are itself.
Exactly.
And how well you're able to make a cup of coffee. If you're able to extract all the best notes from the coffee bean itself, and just how good you make a nice cup of coffee.
Yeah. I get to ask you with the espresso. I was gonna say, what's your favorite espresso drink? Yeah. We could do that at the end.
Okay.
We come back to
favorite drinks at the end.
Or like just right now, like what's your or like what bean from which area are your favorite to make a pour over from? Or just a drink.
So the beans I found out that make the best flavorful. I haven't had them in a good while, so I don't remember all the notes and if I'm correct on this, but if my memory serves me right, Guatemalan beans are the best I've tried so far. Really? Yeah, they were sweet, were full bodied, but yet I'm not sure if I'm using that right though. Because they were packed with flavor, but they were silky smooth. Like it ran down your throat so easily, so comfortably.
I had a word for that I forgot. Because there was, the way that I would describe it is like if a coffee had like a full body,
Mm-hmm.
like it just you couldn't taste any of the water that was in it. That's
Yeah.
how I described full body. But then there was like a smoothness to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
So
buttery.
then it was
It's like buttery.
So when I would describe my coffee to Danny, I would be like, it had a decent body with like a slight smoothness.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was easy to drink.
Exactly.
That's how I describe it to him.
And that's what I loved about it. The notes I remember were being like dark chocolate and very earthy, and I was like, it was like the type of cup of coffee that you would love to have in the morning on a cold winter's day, and you don't have anything planned. Like you're gonna stay in home and just relax, maybe watch some movies, and a cup of coffee is gonna wake you up and get ready for the day if you have anything else planned. It's just a good way to wake up.
So far the best pour over beans that I've tried.
Yeah.
Still have to go with Costa Rican.
Yeah.
Yeah, Costa Rica is what introduced me to like pour over coffee, and it was the best coffee I've ever tried.
Mm.
And to this day, Costa Rican beans are still my favorite. Like a close second would probably be Burundi.
Burundi.
Yeah.
Really?
Burundi beans are really expensive too. But they taste amazing.
Burundi. I don't remember if I've tried Burundi or not.
We tried Burundi when we went to that shop in North Hollywood.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. Oh,
like the Burundi that I've tried, it tasted like a cup of coffee that already had sugar and milk in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was black.
I remember.
It was great. So yeah.
That was a good choice.
And then our last preparation method is cold brews.
Cold brews. That's my favorite.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm down. So cold brews is, like I said, it's a recently, well, at least what I've heard, it's a relatively new process in making coffee. It's a process in which you grind up, without going into numbers as well, you grind up your coffee and you pour it into cold water. But you grind it up into like a pretty coarse grind, so that way like water's able to like go through the grind itself much easier.
And just as the name implies, the water does have to be cold. Yeah. Because if you're not using cold water, you don't have a cold brew.
Exactly. Because normally, hot water itself is what extracts the oils and the flavor from the coffee. But because this is cold brew, you want to brew the coffee in cold water, but because cold water doesn't extract the flavors as fast as hot water, you're going to leave the coffee grind soaking in the cold water for minimum 12 hours. You could leave it for longer, like 24 hours, the whole day.
Yeah, there are some shops that I've heard that they leave it for 48 hours.
Exactly. Yeah, it's your personal choice how much you want it to extract the flavor from the coffee beans. But
that's
basically it. Yeah, we just leave it soaking in for hours. Once you get it out, once you're done, you just filter the grinds out of the water, and you have cold brew. Add some like nice ice in there, maybe like a splash of like milk or anything if you like. But it's great for like summer, and because
definitely it really is a summer drink.
It really is. I loved it. It was great, and because you left the grinds soaking in the water, all the water just absorbed every last bit of caffeine from the coffee beans, absorbed all the flavor from it. It's just a great cup of coffee.
Yeah, and similar to pour overs where you can taste the notes and stuff, the notes also come out in cold brews.
They really do. Yeah.
Like to my surprise, we had what was it, like an Ethiopia Guatemalan mix in the shop, and Ethiopian coffee is known to be very lemony, very citrusy.
Yeah, very acidic.
Just very acidic overall. But that cold brew had none of it. It had the lemon taste. Yeah. But it didn't have the acidity that came along with it.
Well, I remember we made a cold brew one time where it was like lemonade.
Oh yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was the best cold brew, and
it's cold brew in a nutshell.
I'm gonna say something about cold brew. I forgot.
Oh, we talked about this earlier on too, because you mentioned nitro cold brews.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so nitro cold brew is just similar to how we make soda or pop or whatever you call it in your part of the country.
That's soda pop, Sonny.
Fountain drink. Similar to that, you introduce nitrous gas into your cold brew, and it'll make it fizzy and bubbly and nice.
Yeah, you put it into like a container and pressurize it with nitrous gas, and you tap it in. Kind of like a keg tap or like a whatever
A seltzer tap.
Seltzer tap, exactly. And you get it out through that, and it's supposed to. What is it supposed to do? Actually, I actually never.
It's just it's supposed to
nitro.
It's just supposed to make the coffee like a little bit more tolerable.
It?
Yeah, it's supposed to aerate it. It's supposed to like make it a little bit more tolerable to drink.
Yeah.
Kind of just like drinking soda.
Because every person that I've talked about nitro cold brew, they've described it in the sense of like Guinness beer.
Oh well, because Guinness uses nitro gas too.
Yeah. Well, they use also chocolate and coffee in it, right? To make the
I'm not sure.
Stouts. But even then, pretty much it's just like you're drinking a cold soda coffee.
Exactly. And then
Great.
even more on the nitrous cold brew side, there are some shops, or there's just like a new wave or focus on nitro cold brews, where like some shops will infuse different flavors into their cold brews. Like
yes, I've heard of that.
Like I worked at going back to Green Door. Green Door has their nitro cold brew on tap, but they also have a hops cold brew and a barley cold brew.
Yeah.
And that's basically like while you're doing your cold brew, you just throw in a little bit of hops or a little bit of barley in there, and it'll taste like it. And honestly, they give it a richer taste, and it's like easier to drink.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I really want to try that. I still want to try that ever since you mentioned it to me.
We can go back to Green Door.
I'm down. But I also wanted to mention that I heard a coffee shop was doing a lavender nitro cold brew.
That sounds very pleasant.
Yeah. Everybody loved how floral it was and just how aromatic the cup was itself, just drinking it. I was like, I want to try that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Are you going... well, we're close to the end of this episode.
Yeah.
What's your favorite espresso drink? Well, what's your favorite espresso drink? And then when you go to a new shop,
yeah,
what is the drink that you're most likely to get?
Most likely to get just because I like it, or most likely to get just to try out to see how good the shop is?
Both.
Both? Okay. So my
3 drinks in total.
So my favorite drink to make the espresso drink is the Café de Cuba. My favorite drink, but I'm not 100% sure if other coffee shops do it the same way we do it.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
So basically, Café de Cuba would be a breve latte with a scoop of brown sugar. That's basically what it would be. It could be like a double shot breve latte. I'm not totally sure because I haven't had other shops breve lattes. But that's basically it.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite drink to just have. I asked for like an extra, a spoonful of brown sugar, and I'm good. That's delicious.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
As for going to a new coffee shop, I would definitely try out a regular latte, just a regular old fashioned latte. Just to make sure it's good. Just to make sure like their coffee is good like by itself, and if it's able to hear through the milk. Even though like milk is known for neutralizing the acidity in the coffee, and sometimes maybe even blanketing the coffee flavor itself. If the coffee itself is able to stick through the milk and make it a pleasant cup, it's a good cup. It's a good coffee shop. Coffee drink that I would go and order any place would probably be Espanol. Actually, or I don't know if they call it the same way in other coffee shops. But
I don't think so. Not a lot of shops do in Espanol.
Well, they call it something else. Because I've gotten plenty of people asking for it. And, well, actually, they asked the same question. They're like, what's in Espanol? And as soon as I describe it to them, they're like, oh, it's like blank from this place. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it. But it's basically, you could tell them what it is. It's
just like a cinnamon coffee drink with, like, condensed milk to sweeten it up. And it's a latte. So, it has coffee and milk. And the sweeteners and flavors are just cinnamon and condensed
because I
milk.
was going to say, like, that's That's kind of how you prepare Vietnamese coffee.
Yeah. Wait, no, that's not what they use. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoy Vietnamese coffee.
That sounds like a pretty good lineup of drinks.
Really. What about yours, John?
So my favorite espresso drink,
Mm-hmm.
has to be just like a regular latte. Yeah, like I've learned to appreciate just a latte.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the drink that you would use to, uh, pretty much for lack of a better word, judge a coffee shop that you're
see,
going into?
when I would go to another shop prior to working at Green Door, I would just get like a regular espresso shot
Mm-hmm.
because you can tell a lot from a coffee shop's espresso shot.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
But the manager at Green Door, he was telling me that he would go and get a cortado.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah.
Because a cortado is basically a 1-to-1 of espresso with steamed milk.
Mm-hmm.
It also tells how technical the barista is because when they actually go to pour your drink, there's just like a thick layer of foam. They did it wrong.
Yeah.
It has to have a very light, thin, almost like a centimeter or less than a centimeter of foam for it to be a proper cortado.
Yeah.
And then temperature too, it has to be it's something that you could just like take a swig of. It can't be too hot, it can't be too cold.
Yep.
So yeah, cortados are pretty good at judging a shop. And then when I go to a shop and I want to just enjoy something, I just like a cappuccino.
Yeah.
Because cappuccinos are pretty good.
Yeah,
I really
pretty fond of cappuccinos.
Yeah, it's because like shout out to Robbie if you're listening. I highly doubt, but if anyone knows Robert from Groundwork, he's an amazing guy. In his coffee, as a person, he adopts old pugs, gives them a good life.
He's the one that got you into.
He's the one that got me into cappuccinos. He taught me how to make a proper cappuccino, and since then I've loved him.
That's not bad.
Because prior to that, I always made the Starbucks cap, which is like extremely foamy, and I never liked them. Yeah. But now that I know what a cap is and what a good one is, I love them. They're good.
Nice. Okay, I see. That's a good one, actually. I completely forgot about cappuccinos.
But yeah, those are my drinks.
That's a good lineup. That's actually way better than mine. It's much more reasonable. Would that be all that we know, Joe? Any last side notes that you want to add? Fun tips, quick notes.
No, I mean, a fun tip. You can always ask whenever you go to a coffee shop or something. You can always ask the barista like something that they've created, because chances are baristas get bored at their job and they create crazy drinks.
Yeah, definitely.
You can ask them what's a barista creation, and they'll probably give you something that's not on the menu, but it'll taste amazing. And yeah, that's all I have. There's nothing else that I wanted to really talk about. Victor, any closing remarks?
Tip your waitresses.
Tips go a long way. Tips do go a long way.
They really do. No, yeah, some places, they help a lot. Even if it's just $1, it's more than, it'll help out a lot more than you think. Don't drive drunk.
Well, I meant more about like the topic, but okay, that's good advice too. All right, I guess that's the end. That's the end of this podcast. Tell us what you thought. If you'd like to see more podcasts like this, shout out to all the places that we've mentioned: Green Door, El Celito, especially. That's our home. Groundwork. You guys are great.
Intelligentsia Coffee.
Intelligentsia.
Starbucks.
Even Starbucks. You guys get a shout out to.
Anybody that any information that we got wrong, we would love it if you guys put in the comment section. Let us know where we can improve. We love to learn more about coffee. But this is what we know. We're not saying that we're correct. We're just saying that this is what we were taught. So hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully we encourage you to go out there and research the drink that you have every morning. And maybe spread some love, spread the knowledge to someone else.
If anyone who owns a coffee shop wants us to review their coffee, we're more than happy. If you want to send us a sample, we will dedicate an episode to you. Anything you want.
Big ass shout out. We'll even record ourselves drinking it and everything.
Exactly.
We'll make the process. We'll make our first live action video with that.
Exactly. But thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for joining us on another Cafetalk.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what your favorite part of the podcast was. Any information that we missed. What are your favorite drinks to drink? Is there some kind of barista creation that you created that you want the world to know about? Other than that,
let us know in the comment section below. And, other than that, goodbye, everybody. Stay beautiful.